Premier Doug Ford is expressing his optimism. The first meeting between Prime Minister Mark Carney and President Donald Trump is the start of rebuilding the Canada-U.S. trading relationship. For the last several months, Ontario has helped make the case against tariffs on the ground in Washington, and leading those talks behind the scenes is David Paterson, Ontario's representative in D.C. He joins me now. Mr. Paterson, thanks so much for making the time. I appreciate it.
Good morning, Caryn.
Well, you, of course, represent the provincial government in D.C., but you've been one of the people who has continued to be in very close contact with the U.S. side. From where you sit, what is your reading on yesterday's meeting and your overall takeaway?
Well, that's right. I mean, we've been trying to sort of clear the underbrush for this relationship reset over the last year, and doing a lot of that work during the period of the leadership and of course the federal election. So it was just fantastic to see yesterday unfold. I think all Canadians were very kind of positive and relieved to hear in the Oval Office that Canada is not for sale spoken there. And I think the Prime Minister was very artful in sort of pointing out from a real estate perspective that some places are never for sale. So I think we were all really positive about that. But as you say, it's really, what's most important is removing the uncertainty that has come during the Trump administration. And there's much work to do. So this is the start of a reset or rebuild of a relationship. And I think even more important than just hearing some of those positive messages yesterday is that there's a process now for the federal government to sort of restart some of those discussions, including apparently the possibility of sort of a trilateral meeting with the president of Mexico in June in Kananaskis for the G7 meeting.
Trump, however, made it clear, though, that for him on the issue of tariffs, and especially those on the auto sector, that they will stay in place. He said that there was nothing Carney could say to convince him to lift them. Based on the conversations that you are having, do you anticipate any change in posture?
Well, I think it's important to understand, and maybe some have sort of lost track because there's a bit of a narrative of the world will come to an end in the auto sector that we've had for quite a while. And in fact, what has been partially successful for us is to have a sort of constructive discussion around the fact that that our auto sector is compliant with USMCA, which is the agreement. And that came up in the discussion yesterday. I thought that was one of the important takeaways. And so what we've achieved so far is that the rest of the world now has a tariff of 25% to bring vehicles in or to bring parts in. But we have a continuation of our zero tariff on parts. And we've seen a partial reduction of the tariffs on our vehicles finished. So we want to get that back down to zero, but it's about half of that at the moment. So those are some of the things that we've been working on with the auto industry down here to try and get some more stability into the auto sector. It's really painful being someone who worked in the auto sector for 20 years to see shifts of production moving to the United States. And I think we're going to see that from Mexico, and we've seen it a bit from Canada. But I'm really confident that we'll be back in full production before long, too, because as these tariffs that hold other vehicles out, about 5 million vehicles per year out of 17 that are bought in North America, there'll be opportunities to fill up our capacity, not just in the United States, but in Canada. And so that's what we have to work on. And getting stability again into the trade agreement is really the foundation for doing that. So lots more work to be done ahead. But yesterday was a good start.
I do take your point that CUSMA compliant goods have gotten, I guess, an exemption, and that's reason to be optimistic. But I just wonder how worrying it was possibly for you, Trump's many distortions of the truth, and the fact that, he couldn't acknowledge that Canada brings something of value to the trading relationship.
Well, I've been doing this for over a year here in Washington, and I know that they know how important we are. And that includes how important our supply chain is to the stability of their auto sector. It's really hard to make a vehicle without a steering wheel or some of the things that are provided from different parts of North America. But again, it's really important to hear the president acknowledging that the USMCA is important. He is concerned, as we are, that some companies are not following the terms of the USMCA, and that had been happening out of Mexico in particular, where companies were just paying a low tariff and not doing all the very difficult work to be compliant with the USMCA. So we agree with that, and we think there's important opportunities to improve the USMCA, but it is a standard trade agreement that is really very valuable for Canada. So getting back on the track towards its renewal, that's a good step. But in the meantime, we've been doing the hard work here in Washington to sort of mitigate as much as we can. And while it's not perfect and we're not down to zero tariffs yet, it's like the old expression, you don't have to outrun the bear, you have to outrun everybody else. And we now have 150 countries here in Washington that have tariffs imposed on them too. They've caught up with us. And so it's a very complex and busy place in terms of finding mitigation. I'm just really pleased that when Premier Ford came down here in March, we were able to get ahead of that by a couple of months and be able to start bringing down our tariffs. And we've been able to achieve that partially, but there's more work to do.
Okay, I have to leave it on that note. I am out of time. Mr. Paterson, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Caryn. Nice to talk to you.
You as well.